What's good, family? It's your boy, Reckless Ray Dinero, and we are back again for another episode of Future Financial Strategies. This will be coming to you Thursday, March 23rd. And today, we are going to go over how we bust down this check. Specifically, if you are saving enough money, manans, dinero, dollars, ducats, greenbacks, gold certificates for some of you that are super duper old school. Um, your money's not backed by gold anymore, so like that last one was definitely a joke because you can't turn that in for nothing. But before we do that, I want to give a shout out to the new subscribers. I have been doing this on the crypto channel. I haven't actually done it on this specific playlist or set of videos, and it's not like y'all ain't watching both, because I see you. So first of all, I want to give a shout out to the most recent chunk, and then moving forward we will be keeping this pretty consistent until it gets to be so many people that this part of the video is too long and I can't keep up with it. Hopefully that I actually enjoy giving shout outs to the people who take the time to listen to and are pouring in and interacting and exchanging information and knowledge and building with the community over here. So I'm hoping that as we do this, we just the videos just get longer, because I do enjoy this part. Shout outs to Christopher Hart. Shout outs to Pattern One. Shout outs to Boomer Naughty. Shout outs to The Black Cowboy. Shout outs to MJ Cotrain 11. Shout out to Homework Jones. Shout out to Carscar. Shout out to D'Souza. Shout out to Dell0015. I really am appreciative of everyone who watches the videos and rocks out with me and gives me their feedback. And, you guys help make this great. So, props to you for that. Now, ways to support the channel. Hit me with the like, hit me with the subscribe. Definitely share with your friends if you found things of value. Ways to contact me. You can reach me at recklessraydinero@gmail.com, just like the channel name with the gmail.com on the end. Obviously, you have questions, definitely reach out. I've got my link tree down in the description with all the ways that you guys can link up with me on socials, figure out what I'm doing. Not the greatest at the socials because I'm actually too busy doing things to be posting about me doing things for you guys to like me more. Sorry. I go outside and touch grass. I'm not good at it at documenting me touching grass. So, but I am trying to get better at putting up information that's within the retrospect of the stuff that I'm involved in. So there is that. That's fun. Um, the other things that we are doing, we're obviously always trying to grow the channel, so we're working on that. Um, Obviously, this is a companion video for the live stream that's going to be tonight over on I See You Little Podcast. I'm going to actually embed that into the description for this video since this releases that same day as the live stream on most days. Um, but let's jump into it. Let's get into the nitty gritty. So while I mixed up my paydays, which doesn't normally happen, but I was late at doing my end of month finances for last month, where I document like where I'm sitting at, and I can, I try to track the growth from month to month to see if I'm going in the correct direction. Um, and somehow I mixed up which days were payday, so I didn't realize I was getting paid this last week. And yeah, it just all sorts of chaos ensued. But it made me bring back into the peer view of check in to see how much of my funds I'm saving. And I'm not saying saving like keeping money in the bank, because I don't believe in keeping money in the bank. I don't necessarily think that under the current financial environment that is a safe bet. We are seeing banks collapse, we are seeing runs on banks. I don't see a reason to have a large sum of money in the bank. That's just me. That's my personal thought process on things. Obviously, this is not financial advice. This is a brokey on the internet telling you his strategies for not being a brokey on the internet. Um, Obviously, some of these things will work. Some of them, I mean, hopefully none of them don't work because I'd like to see some results. But, we're not trying to, obviously, I'm not trying to wake up rich tomorrow because that's unrealistic. That's called gambling. But I'm also not trying to be so old that I can't enjoy the money. I'm not trying to do that. I'm also not trying to be on the struggle indefinitely. Like, I'm built for the grind, but I don't want to have to. And, we're always trying to move that needle forward. So we're trying to look at things from a perspective of we're trying to be as efficient as we can in the financial plays that we are making, and we're questioning what our grandparents and our parents told us. Does this actually work? Is the Gordon Ramsay, Richard Faines, the gurus, do these things work for those of us who are in the trenches and on the grind? As in regards to, are we setting ourselves up to be in positions to, take leaps ahead versus baby steps until we're old? Because most of the old ideology worked during those time periods, but like, you also just basically retired, lived for a couple of years, and died. And I'm not trying to be rich for a couple of years and then die. Like, that sounds terrible. Um, so I dial this back in. So I don't consider this savings in the sense of like, oh, I've got money in my bed, money in my pillowcase, money in the mattress, money stuffed up in the closet, or money buried in the backyard. Or money in the bank. I'm considering this money that you are getting into the market to get to working for you. Now, the saving 20% was the standard. That was the standard. So like getting up to this mark, and I remember when I was coming up, I was always told 10. They were like 20 if you're trying to get rich. So like the shooting goal was for 20. Now, me personally, I actually checked this. And so most of my math is done. I don't mess with the gross. No one cares about gross because you don't see it. So we're going to start with there. That nobody sees their gross income because that's not coming to you unless you're a 1099 employee, in which you still have to allocate about 35, safely I'd say 40% of that is going back to pay taxes. So you gotta cover yourself, right? And so for 1099 work, I always suggest, that 40% off the top, that's gone. That's the government's money, and you should not be doing anything with that where you're going to come up on the back end short on that money because the government's going to get their money. So I do all my math based off what's actually coming into the door. Plain and simple. And I understand that doing the math that way, some people don't agree with that because they base their savings off the gross income. I always look at it where if the money that's coming into the door, unless you have some really jacked up tax situation or you are on some sort of deal where someone is extracting money from you out of your paycheck via garnishment. In my opinion, this is the most effective way because this is what I see, at least, like I said, boots on the ground in the trenches. What I see coming in the door is what I'm doing the math off of. And so based on that percentage, I am currently at 37%. My goal is 50. And depending on when it is, and like I actually have money coming out because I do the price match for my 401k at my job. I am an advocate of that. I get that free money. But one of the things that I did do is like I don't count that normally. Like that's just extra on top. So I'm actually probably around 40. Probably. I'd say that there's an additional 3% at minimum of my that's going. So yeah, I'd say if I was to factor that in, I don't because I only look at what shows up at the door. So like that's not including my 401k or the HSA, which is cut off the top. to get out of my way at the beginning. I only base this off of the salary that's consistently coming through the door. So, with that said, I'm currently sitting at 37%, and I'm trying to get that up to 50, which means that like the paycheck that comes in the door, like however much cash I have coming in, my goal is to be in a space where whatever cash I'm bringing in, like that includes like side hustle cash, any of the other avenues that I'm doing, is to have 50% of that going into markets to help build my wealth. It's like that's money that comes in that needs to go to work, and then I live off the other 50%. Now, truth be told, since my cryptocurrency money stays in the market, that's also stacking. My portfolio money stays in the market, so that's also stacking as well. So that's additional income as I mean, I guess you could say that. It's additional income. It's just rolling over. Like I don't pull it out. I don't normally do anything but reallocate it into where it needs to go. So there's also that. But I still shoot for the money that comes in the door. I'm shooting. My goal is to get up to 50% of that going to spaces that's either getting put in towards an opportunity for a larger investment or going into a market to where it is also working as well. That's the goal. And so recently I've actually started lining out a rough budget. I've also stated multiple times I'm terrible at budgeting. I don't like the constraint. Um, but I am looking at, since I'm pushing that goal, to start allocating more money and like forcing myself to slide that money over into those spaces, just to hit that. Like that's really what it is. It's not necessarily me cutting back on anything. It's going, well, when the money comes in, I have to bill myself X amount on top of the savings amount that I get, where as I increase my income, this is what's like basically all raises I get just go straight towards the market at this point. Like I don't use that money for me, really, unless I have to budget something in, which eventually this additional savings budget will become a travel budget, most likely, to help me get around and do some additional networking things, something business related, not necessarily something fun, but it'll at least put me in some spaces where I'm not sitting here, because I like to work remote. Like I like going other places and being able to do content, collaborate with people, do stuff like that. Conferences, I'm an advocate of conferences. I like booking in for my vacations. I like them to be educational, so budgeting in for something of that nature. Um, and obviously with the goal of putting money aside for that second property, that's going to be a big piece of the current savings. Is I've got a large opportunity that I'm loading the barrel up for. I'm just waiting for these markets to show me an opening or something to land in my lap that looks appetizing that I can get at. But until then, stacking as much cash as possible. Um, Another interesting thing when it comes to savings, and this is people who keep money in the bank, which I don't know. I feel like this isn't necessarily as big of a deal to me because I'm like, who's sitting on cash? But the median across all U.S. citizens, the median bank account balance is $5,300, which, okay, that's cool. I could see that. I could see that being me personally. I'm an advocate for high deductibles so that I'm losing less money on the cash flow for the monthly premium. Um, so like a few deductibles, which is basically the only thing that I'll keep in cash is deductible money. Now, bear in mind that's still hitting a credit card first to get those points, and then I just pay it back immediately with the cash. But I could see that. So like that makes sense. The mean though, which is the middle point of all bank accounts, which for those of you who like to throw these two things around, the mean average of a data set is found by adding all numbers in the data set, then dividing by the number of values in the set. The median is the middle value when the data set is recorded from least to greatest, which means that like There's people out there who have 249,000, respectfully, hopefully, dollars in the bank account. I know one of my clients who is way high up in banking said that he has clients that have 7 figures in the bank account. That's all bank accounts. So like the actual median is going to be a much higher number than the mean, because that's actually just what's in the middle. Or the median. Oh, hold on. The median is the middle value when the set is recorded from least to greatest. So the median is the one that you want to go for. The mean is going to be the much higher number, because then you're taking people who have $1 million in the bank and grouping them in with people who have $100 in the bank, which brings that number up. So like your mean, I'm sorry, I did misspeak live. We're not editing it out because we are transparent around here. And I just learned something. I learned that I read that wrong earlier when I read it. And that happens, and it's okay. It's okay to say you're wrong, people. But like we learned this together. So the median is the one that we want to look at, because the median is going to be the if you put them in numerical order, that's the middle, the guy that's in the middle, and then you're above the median. I do not deal in means, because this number is averaging, which means that the super rich dude pulls up the number for the dude who has $0 in the bank, and all of a sudden, oh, I'm average. You've got $41,000 when you actually have 100. So the median is closer to accurate. It's the one that's closer to accurate. So median, that makes sense to me. I would be a person who, like, I don't have that much money in cash right now, honestly. But now that I'm looking at this, I mean, I normally keep the highest deductible that I'll keep that in cash. So technically speaking, I should have this up here, because my medical deductible, I don't like, you have to front the cash to get reimbursed from your HSA. So this makes sense. Median makes sense in this case. Now, if you go to household type, this gets interesting. So for the household, if you're single with one or more children, you only have 1,300 in the bank, which is closer to what I like to keep in the bank. Like, I like to keep most of my stuff in the market. And in all honesty, a good portion of all of my deductibles will most likely be in the market. Most likely. I just, it's really hard for me, like, even seeing that and going, oh, well, $5,300 could be deductibles. I'm like, that's a lot of money to be sitting in cash for me. Like, I'd rather have it in bonds and some sort of fund that gets some sort of dividend, because I'm not walking around paying deductibles all the time. I need just enough to get through the doctor's appointment. Because, I mean, since I've had insurance, knock on wood, I haven't wrecked my car. So I've never used that deductible. I just pay them every month. Every month, I just pay them. So yeah, I mean, I'm honestly closer to the belief. Me personally, I'm a little bit more than, I'd say I'm in between the single with one or more children and the single without children, as far as like where I normally sit with cash in the bank. Like, I don't like having cash in the bank. Sorry, it's just no good for me. I'd rather have it in an institutional account in the market, making money, because until I get into private banking and to the private banking side of this, there's no reason for me to have money in there, because like it's doing nothing for me at all. Period. It's making the bank money. They're able to loan it out. There's no reason for you to be having it stacked up there. You're not getting hardly anything for it that is beating any market or inflation at this point. So no, not a fan. Not a fan. Couples with one or more children, okay, that makes a little bit more sense. Obviously, you got kids events. You're just gonna have to have more cash floating around. It's just what it is. And a couple without children, absolutely, because you traveling, you doing fun stuff. That makes it interesting. Now let's do another deep dive. We're gonna take another layer into this, because I just really want to drill this in. So under 35. The median bank account. This, I mean, I'm hoping those of you who are close to the median are rocking with a little bit of cash in the bank. Like, I hope you are. According to the stats of most people not being able to come up with $100, like this almost seems unrealistic based on the information we're given. Um, 35 to 44. Okay, you're working up there a little bit. I'm just hoping that at some point in here that people are realizing that you shouldn't be keeping money in the bank. Like I don't know, like this just like the 74-year-old with 10 grand in the bank. That makes sense to me because like they're old. Like all these numbers, like you over 55, this makes sense. 55 and up makes sense. Even the mean makes sense. Like if you've made a bunch of money because these generations grew up with money in the bank. 55 plus, you grew up, banks were your friend, banks were great, banks and women were wonderful, like everything was great, and then you kept money in the bank. Like they just stacked paper. They had parents and grandparents that lived through some stuff, and like they were hoarders of cash. So this makes sense. 45 to 54 also kind of makes sense. That also makes sense. They came up during under those stories of you gotta what if what 2 4 score and 7 years ago. We gotta have money. You gotta have cash. Also makes sense now. When you get to 35 to 44, I'm like, this hasn't been working well for us. Like I don't know that this is the having your well, actually, you know what? All the gurus are telling you that you like cash is king and that like your buying power is not being whittled away. It is now, but so that even makes sense. Like if you're under 35 though, like you need to be tapped in. You need to be getting with some of these future financial strategies. You need to know how to navigate your money to where it's actually working for you versus sitting around getting basically negative interest when you factor in inflation. Because all this money that's sitting in the bank collectively, regardless of which group you're in, for those of you watching, all these groups, and I'm going to read them off. So at 35, under 35, they normally have a median of $33,240 in the bank. That makes sense. I can rock with that. That seems about accurate. You got your main deductible. Hopefully, nothing else is in there. That's the goal there. 35 to 44, they're at $4,710. Now, that's getting a little bit uncomfortable for me. That's me personally. I don't know. I'm a brokey, but that seems like a lot of money to have in the bank just sitting around doing nothing. 45 to 54, $6,400. That is too much money in the bank, in my opinion, to be sitting around doing nothing. Like there's opportunities out there. Like you could have part of that active, and be pulling in some dividends, some residuals. You're probably not gonna have to touch it, God forbid. But if you do need it, you're gonna have it within 48 hours. And that's what I divert back to. I'm like, if I have any money that I need in 48 hours, regardless of where it comes from, regardless, 48 hours, money's in the bank, cash in hand. I've never needed a large amount of money in less than 48 hours that I didn't have access to because I also have credit cards which can front run that burden. We got options. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not seeing it. Like, if you have everything set up in a fashion, you don't have problems where you need large lump sums of money in the bank. 55 to 64, $5,620 is the median. Okay, they're old. I get it. 65, 74, also old. I get it. $8,000. Less 65 to 74, greater than 74 and up, 9,300. I get it. They're old. Like that's the only thing I can say is they're old. Like they don't care. Like they have more life behind them than they have ahead of them. They're spending money most likely. Fine, and they're buying everything in cash. Also makes sense because you don't want to leave a debt for the people who are surviving you. But I don't. I just don't see the reason to have an excess of money in the bank. And I mean, we can look at the best banking accounts. So like, let's take a look here. Capital One obviously is paying to get some free adverts. And then what are the rates right now? You got a savings account, 3.4%. Inflation 6%. That's negative. That's negative percentage if you actually factor in inflation. Like you're not gonna get anything out of that just having your money sit in the bank. Even with the CD, 4.15%. Inflation 6%. You're losing, so that's negative 1.85% in buying power. So when you get that CD back out, they're going to give you your interest and you're going to be happy. But that interest, you're going to be able to buy less with however much money you put in there than what it started at because of the way inflation is, which is why these interest rates are so high. But you got to understand, it's like you're not beating inflation. So they're still getting to do whatever they want with your money. And then, like, they have a premium there of they're going to be able to make 1.85%. Then, like this, there's better things to do with your money at this point. Like, you would be better off putting it in the SPY or something of the like, the S&P 500 and anything else. Plus, you would actually have access to the money during that time period. Like it's just like there's no win with the bank unless you're into private banking and they have some sort of deal that is getting you more than what the peasants are being given. And honestly, they're probably going to be telling you to put your money in the market, and you're going to be doing some stuff like that. But hoarding a bunch of cash in the bank, even right now, not the greatest of ideas. Like it's just not, in my opinion. So I do believe that you should be allocating that money that would be going towards, and I'm air quoting here, savings towards investment deals. Oh, let's before we bounce out, let's look at the key savings stats here. The majority of U.S. households, 98%, have transaction accounts such as a savings account. Okay, that makes sense. All of us grew up indoctrinated into a banking system. Makes sense. Singles and younger adults tend to have lower transaction account balances. Of course, they have less money. Here we go. This is getting to the part that I was talking about. Less than half of U.S. households, about 4 in 10, said that they were able to cover an unexpected $1,000 expense like a car repair or medical bill in January of 2022. Good Lord. So most people can't cover an unexpected $1,000 expense. That's wild. That is wild. So this is the reason we gotta build that foundation, because anything could come up. Meanwhile, 50% of adults surveyed in June 2022 said that they were uneasy with their level of emergency savings. We got to eliminate that too. These are things that we are directly combating over here on this channel, and why we are talking about it. That's what this series is for. We're looking at getting to the bag, but also knowing what to do when we've gotten to the bag to maximize the bag. Because if you got a bunch of money coming in, but you still broke because you spend every dime that comes in, that's no good to anybody. You're still no good. That's still at zero. It's a high paid zero. Most American adults, about 76%, have not seen an increase in their emergency savings balance over the past year. That's sad but believable. Inflation's creeping up on you. The government doesn't want 2.5 million of you even working that are working right now. Y'all about to lose your jobs. And everything's gone up like 50%, and they keep telling us that inflation's was at worst, 10%? But everything's 50% more expensive, and a lot of people are not in a space to where they're willing to pivot on their lifestyle or capable of pivoting on their lifestyle. And if you're not adaptable, you're going to get crushed by this. It's important to have the money going into the market. But a lot of people, every raise they get to begin with, they adjusted their lifestyle up to their new income so that they spend all their money. It's a bad game to play, especially when stuff randomly over the course of a few years goes up 50%. Makes stuff difficult, like having your emergency savings. Slightly over half of U.S. adults have more emergency savings than they do credit card debt. Oh, nice. As of January 2022. And see, I'm hoping some of y'all took that stimmy money and who didn't do what I did, which was put it in the market and double it, triple it, quadruple it. I'm hoping that some of y'all cleared your debt. That's probably a good idea. Probably a great idea. Like, I mean, I'm back in turtle mode now. Like, I don't trust it. After seeing these banks fall, I'm like, we are on a mission. I have my debt float level, and we constricted that down. So like now we're on a mission of eliminating debt. We are still saving, and I'm in a position where I don't keep debt that I can't pay back. But I'm definitely focusing and noticing that if making note that for any large purchase, which for me over $100 is something that I flag as a large purchase, um, is covered. Like I have to have the cash in hand, of course. Put it on the credit card. I get my points, but I've got to have the cash for it now. Like when the cash comes in, I'm like, cool. I'm taking this chunk out of the whatever to go buy whatever. Um, Currently, large purchases are consisting of new tools for work. I'm redoing my tools. I'm switching back to Milwaukee. They have the best warranty. Sorry, DeWalt, you have the most powerful drills, but paying to get them repaired when you actually use your drills a lot, not fun. And so Milwaukee, I can just send that mug back, and they'll just fix it, or replace it because they have the best warranty. Also, they have the most convenient pack out kit, which is also pretty awesome. Um, and so yeah, so we're switching back over. So I'm getting some new drills. It's getting spread out over the course of about three paychecks is actually to get the stuff that I need to get going. It's three paychecks. You get one piece at a time. It's called spacing out. I could buy it all now. I don't need it all now. I still have my drills, but I'm gonna filter in those drills and then sell off my DeWalt gear and drills and then switch that out, and we're gonna call it good. But it's about having the money. I'm not just front running stuff anymore. Like we're not doing that, and we're paying back what's floating out there now. Like that's also a key piece of this. And then the last point, even though nearly 3 in 5 adults are contributing at least as much as they were in the previous year to retirement, 55% still say they're behind on their retirement savings. This one I don't agree with because I contribute the bare minimum to my retirement, and while I could feel that I'm behind, those are failure funds. I don't believe in banking everything on those funds. Like that's something that a cog in a wheel would do and just hope stuff's going to work out. And the guy who made the retirement vehicles has blatantly said that like this is not what the intent was. People are living way too long and they're not set up to work like this. You've got to have passive income coming in. You have to have a couple of income streams set up. Like you got to be built for the grind. I mean, the fact that people intend that they're just going to sit around and not do anything after a certain point is also weird to me. Like that's also never been a thing. The original retirement was like roughly 2 years before you expired from this earth. So you gotta, if all that you're banking on is your retirement savings, then that thing better be fat. And I mean super fat. I mean like fat enough that you can live off of your balance. Now me personally, I did the math on what I would want to be able to navigate in the fashion that I'd want to navigate where I wouldn't have to do anything at all. And like realistically, I could do that off of $600,000. Like the retirement deal, if you're making 10% on 600,000, that's $60,000 a year, which is above the average pay. Also, the fact that like if you don't have to go to work, so like now you're not going to work, you're not having to put excessive miles on your car, like you don't have to do anything you don't want to do. Me personally, I could make 60,000 work for myself. Like obviously if you're bringing in kids and you got all that stuff, you might want to factor that in, but like if you're making 10,000 a year or 10% a year on your investment, or it's invested in something that's giving you 10% a year and you're capable of protecting that principal, then like you could be pretty good. Like, you can be set on that. And like, honestly, if you're going to live outside the States, there's plenty of places where you live like a king on 60 grand a year. Like, you were rich. You were very rich. You're very wealthy, depending on where you're at. So like, you also got to factor that in. Like, I'm not saying you could live on 60 grand a year in LA or New York, but like, there's places where you can make that work. Um, so like, while I do the retirement accounts, those are more or less, since I'm on salary and I get a paycheck, more or less about taxes than the actual deal. It's like, hey, if you do this, we'll give you a tax break. Like, you're not taxed on these funds. Fine, whatever. I'll take it. Free money. Fine, whatever. I'll take it. My Roth is literally getting set up to just build itself out by making income, and then I can go in there after I get paid every month and allocate where the income that it made went, where it made goes. But I'm not looking at these accounts as like, oh, I've got to have this. Like, I will have things in place to where I've just got money. Like, I'm not, the ideology that someone's going to take care of you, no one's going to take care of you. It's not going to happen. Like, you are in competition with everyone else. We are all out here competing. No one has your best interest in mind when it comes to your finances. No matter what you do, the final say so comes down to you, and these people are going to do right by themselves. They are not going to do right by you. These retirement accounts, you got to get them fat, which means that you got to go through all the good times and the bad times. And then, hopefully you come out when it's time for you to retire. Hopefully we're in a good market, but like, that's also a gamble. That's the reason I say, like, I look at them as failure funds. Do I use them? Absolutely. Are they tools in my arsenal? Absolutely. But am I banking on them being the be all end all of whether I retire successfully or not? Absolutely not. That's going to be on me and my decisions and, how I get to these bags. So, in leaving, definitely ways to support the channel. You can donate. All that stuff is down in the comments. Leave me a comment. Let's talk about, do you feel like you're saving enough? Let's talk about it, people. Drop me a comment. Anyone looking to collab or ask questions or any of that stuff, you can email me again at recklessraydenaro@gmail.com. It's the page name, the page handle. You throw it at gmail.com on there, and you got me. Looking forward to talking to you all soon. It's Thursday. We're going into Bag Fumble Friday. Actually, we're not calling it Bag Fumble Friday. What were we going to call it? I forgot the name of it already. Like, it's just, we say Bag Fumble Friday so much. We're going to say Bag Flip Friday, because we're going to flip that bag into another bag. That's what we're doing. It's Bag Flip Fridays around here. That's what we're doing. We're not fumbling any bags. So like, that's not even an option for you anymore. If you're tapped in with me, it's Bag Flip Friday from now on. How are we flipping it? How are we making it better? How are we expanding on the wealth that we're getting with the income that is coming in? It's Bag Flip Friday. So as you go into Bag Flip Friday, think about it from that perspective. We are flipping bags. We are not fumbling them. And I will talk to you guys next Thursday. Also, make sure to tap in on I See Your Little Podcast channel this evening, because I am going to be live. We're gonna be talking about some stuff. It's already up on his channel, so that's definitely a channel that you should be also subscribed to, especially if you're trying to catch me live, because we're having these conversations on the live panel as well. Because I talk about whatever you guys want to talk about, and some of y'all are stopping through now, and we doing a lot more bag talk over there, and I'm enjoying it. I'm here for it. We're having great panels, good groups of people, a lot of different perspective. You can come up. It's open panel. You can come up and actually talk. You can hit me in the chat. I am very active in my chat. I love my chat. My chat is dope. You can ask questions in the chat and we will get them answered live on air. You can come be a part of something. It's great. We got a good little family over there and it's growing. But one of the things that I really love about the chat is y'all be holding me accountable. We'll be like, hey, Ray, we don't want to talk about modern women. We want to talk about money. Let's get to this bag. And we get to that bag. So you guys drive the conversations that we're having over there, and we've been having some really dope conversations. We got a really good, consistent group now. We got a lot of people who are consistently stopping in, tapping in with us, and we're having fun. Also, I'm going to be posting and definitely promoting the episode of Sir Hale Speaks that I was on Sunday. So you guys need to be looking out for that, because like I posted that I was going to be on there, and as soon as the episode, we're going to have that episode up, you should be looking for it as soon as possible. Go show him some love. Sir Hale Speaks is another channel. He just crossed 50,000 subs. Decided to have me up on the episode that just coincidentally coincided with him crossing that $50,000, 50,000, not $50,000, 50,000K subscriber threshold, which is a big deal for a content creator. That is awesome. So it's definitely another channel that you guys should be looking at. And hopefully, when I'm a moderator over there, hopefully I'll be over there speaking a little bit different subject matter than what I've got going over here, but also a subject that I'm well versed in, because it happens to be a subject matter that I talk about when I'm live on a lot of panels. Normally when people call me up, it's not to talk about money. Coincidentally. It's crazy, right? But definitely tap in with Sir Hale Speaks. It's a good channel, good conversation. I like what he's got going on over there. And yeah, I'll be back next week. It's your boy, Reckless Ray De Niro, and I am signing out. Peace.